we might actually not have a country in like 4 years. This is genuinely insane. I think this is maybe like, I can't believe it, but Hillary Clinton has never been so vindicated by history. Tulsi Gabbard nominated or picked as Director of National Intelligence. Unbelievable, genuinely. Tulsi Gabbard is one of the most obviously like Russian plant individuals. At the head of NSA, it's crazy, like genuinely crazy. Trump owes Russian oligarchs like something most fear. It makes me wonder if the most like exaggerated hyperbolic version of this narrative is correct, which is that it literally is just Russian oligarchs. Like, they have had their hand in the development of the far right in the West for decades now, and they financed and assisted Trump in his election victory. They helped Elon Musk buy Twitter. And now, as head of the NSA, we have like an anti-American. Not even in a based way, but in like a will make the world worse for everyone way. It's crazy. What's crazy is that Trump appoints her, but also appoints the most hawkish pro-Ukrainian Republican to national security. Isn't he like a NATO skeptic? Or am I thinking of the Pentagon guy? I think I'm thinking about the Secretary of Defense, head of the NSA. I don't even know what to do with this, man. We are no longer a real country. Here, Tulsi Gabbard preempted this a few days ago.
Now, she is the co-chair of President Trump's transition team, Tulsi
Let's
Gabbard.
Talk about everybody else and what matters.
We got a lot
oh my
of
God,
news
shut up.
right now,
the
folks. This one,
I think you are a phenomenal asset in so many ways that I know that people may not know. And I've got to imagine.
Makes sense, TBH. Russian oligarchs basically stole the entire wealth of the USSR. Yeah, it's this is I hate liberals and leftists for this. Liberals made this talking point soy, and then leftists pointed out how soy it is so many times that it's difficult to talk about without reaffirming that it's soy. But for those of you who aren't aware, Russian oligarchs basically have an undefined amount of money. Nobody knows how much money Putin has. The reason for that is because we did this. America did this. After the USSR lost, we basically facilitated the carving up of the entire empire and put all that wealth in the hands of a few dozen people. Like, the carving up of the USSR created some of the most wealthy and powerful people in the world, but they were wealthy. They were like barons of ruin, you know? They were wealthy and powerful, and they presided over, well, Russia and former Soviet territories, which weren't doing that well. But you have a lot of oil, you have a lot of natural gas, the wealth rebuilds, there's still a lot of influence there. We don't really know how much wealth or influence they have. The idea that they could, like, Kremlin media refer to Tulsi as a friend of Moscow. Russian state TV calls Gabbard our friend Tulsi as Tucker Carlson interview aired. Jesus. It's so straightforward. They probably have more dark money than anyone else in the world. Probably, yeah. Russian transformation was designed and overseen by Russian elites and neolib economists. The neolib economists that I'm referring to are us. That's us, the neolib economists. Of course, Russian elites presided over it. It's Russia. But, like, we directly pushed for this, you know? We wanted this. We wanted to, like, stomp on our enemy after they were down. No Russian neolib economist. If you're, like, denying the idea that the West directly involved ourselves to facilitate the ruining of the former Soviet states, you can read up on it. You know, it's not like a conspiracy theory.
Imagine that there is a position in this administration for you. Are you interested?
This is up to President Trump. Obviously, he's looking to assemble a team right now. If he asks me to serve in a position where I feel I can be effective to help him carry out his objectives, of course, I'd be honored to do that.
Let me ask you about, women were lied to about abortion in a whole variety of ways. Old people were lied about Donald Trump taking away Social Security and Medicare.
Is the implication here that women were lied to, that Donald Trump didn't appoint the Supreme Court justices who overturned abortion? Whatever, it's Fox News. They exist in a different reality. We all know.
Harris Wall's ticket supported gender-affirming care for minors without parental consent. They support sex change operation and amnesty for illegal immigrants. And then they say they care about women's rights, but they were completely silent on all of the women the dozens of them that were murdered by their unvetted illegal immigrants, the dozens that were raped by those.
Never mind, this is super boring. There's like no sauce to it, man. Let me take a minute to drone on and just repeat every non sequitur right-wing talking point we've been banging on about for years. What does this have to do with anything? Shut the fuck up. Move on. Here. This is from 1 day ago.
The fact that we have all these troops in the region, this is an issue of sensitivity for you about where America is and why. Do you believe that this is something that will be rethought by the Trump administration?
Well, thank you, Chris. It's good to be with you on your show, and I appreciate you recognizing our veterans, my brothers and sisters in uniform, and the many challenges that our veterans in this country still face alongside their families. And to me, the most important commitment that veterans and servicemen and women should have from our leaders in this country, the best way to recognize that service and sacrifice and to say thank you is to make sure that our men and women in uniform are only sent into harm's way, are only sent to war as a last resort, after all measures of diplomacy have been exhausted. Now, this is one of the many reasons why I think
So do you support, like, removing the troops that the United States has stationed in Israel to man our super expensive proprietary missile defense system? Out of curiosity?
Many Americans turned out to vote for President Trump is because he understands this. And we've seen how through his last...
Tulsi's biggest PAC contributor was a Putin apologist and suspected operative in 2021. That's cool. Do you think we might be, like, actually cooked, like, completely? I can't imagine a greater symbolic victory Russia might have over America than for them to put such an obvious op at the head of national security. It's like the most, like, they have a millionth of our GDP and we're still losing because they know how to consolidate their class interest better than we do.
Administration, he didn't just talk about ending wars. He actually went out and did that work of direct diplomacy. He went out and met with dictators and adversaries in that pursuit of...
I don't see Tulsi getting through Senate confirmation, to be fair. What Republican would dare betray Donald Trump on his picks for his glorious return to the White House?
Peace for the American people. So in his next administration, and he was very vocal about this throughout this presidential campaign, that his goal is to end wars, not start them. His goal is to prevent World War III and nuclear war, and spoke many times about things that Kamala Harris never brought up.
Russian-American national Elena Branson was indicted this week for lobbying for pro-Kremlin policies while not registered as a foreign agent. She gave to one U.S. politician. Guess which politician?
Her campaign about how he understands the seriousness of the stakes and the threats that we face as the American people, specifically because of the foreign policy decisions made under the current administration. And so I can tell you, as someone who still wears the uniform, I'm a lieutenant colonel in the Army Reserve, as someone who's deployed to multiple war zones in different parts of the world, the most important responsibility that any president has is to serve as commander-in-chief. And it's important on this day as Veterans Day, as well as you said, as every day, to recognize the best way to...
Yeah, I'd forgotten how crazy some of the shit she said about Ukraine was. Tulsi Gabbard has been condemned as a traitor and accused of being a Russian asset for comments her detractors said lent credibility to Kremlin propaganda that U.S.-funded laboratories were working on bioweapons in Ukraine. Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard was pushing the Kremlin conspiracy theory that in Ukraine there were a bunch of secret chem labs working on an anti-Russian biological weapon or something. In a video, Gabbard said the undeniable facts are that 25 to 30 U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine are conducting research into dangerous pathogens. Why wouldn't we just do that here? Well, the reason it was a Kremlin talking point, they were saying, like, well, this is why we're invading Ukraine. This was one of the 50 reasons they gave for invading Ukraine, which was we need to stop Ukraine from building these deadly U.S.-backed bioweapons. It didn't make any sense. Now Russia's position on invading Ukraine is pretty much just like God Emperor Putin decrees that our blood, we must, you know, get Lebensraum and spread our blood to the soil that was once ours, you know. Deus Volt. The current, like, Russian talking points for invading Ukraine are basically screaming Deus Volt over and over again.
Ensure our gratitude is shown to those who serve and their families is to make sure war is a last resort, and if it is required, that we take care of our men and women in uniform if and when they come home.
LTC Gabbard, I thank you for your service, of course, and your family, because the whole family serves, no matter which member it is. The sacrifice is real. And you may serve again.
Did Trump just hand our entire country to Russia? I mean, maybe a version of that statement is true. Did anyone else see that post? I only saw one news source reporting on it, so I don't know if it's credible, but that a former aide to Vladimir Putin said that Trump had a quid pro quo with the Kremlin or something like that. I don't know if that's true, because I only saw one source reporting on it. But did anyone else see that? It was one of his, you know, one of his right-hand men saying, like, you know, Donald Trump has won, which we like, and now he will have to pay his due. That's Steele's document. It's fake. That's the portion of the document. Okay, yeah. I only saw like a few places mentioning it, so I didn't think that it was necessarily credible. Okay.
What is your attitude towards being a member of the Trump administration?
President Trump is going through, and I know this is how he's spending a lot of his time right now, is looking at making these decisions about who he wants to serve on his team and in his cabinet. If there is any way that I can help achieve that goal and objective of preventing World War III and nuclear war, of course, I'd be honored to serve.
That means allow Russia to take as much of Ukraine as they can, by the way. The, like, stop World War III rhetoric has... nobody who says that then goes on to say, and I condemn Russia for their invasion of Ukraine and constant brinksmanship, you know?
Where do you think you would be of most help to President Trump and this administration?
In a place where I can do that. There are a few different roles, I think, within this administration. But again, President Trump will make his decision, and it looks like he's already making some announcements this week.
That was yesterday.
We got a lot of news breaking right now, folks. This one is the latest. President-elect Trump has nominated former Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard to be the next Director of National Intelligence. DNI is the shorthand for that role. She is a former Democrat. She supported President Trump and became a Republican over the course of this election. She's a lieutenant colonel in the military, and she was very omnipresent along the election campaign. You see images of her here with President-elect Trump.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click.
Incredible stuff, really. Though, if nothing else, this probably does explain the reason why Tulsi Gabbard has been so close to Donald Trump throughout the election process, even though they never talked about her. They talked about RFK Jr. a lot, but Tulsi Gabbard shifted over to the right years ago. Like, she's been appearing on Fox News for a while. So I was kind of curious why Tulsi Gabbard was so close to Donald Trump for the entire campaign process, at least the past, like, year of it, when they didn't talk about her. They didn't use her. They didn't really, like, broadcast much with her. So now we know, I guess. She's probably, like, a liaison of some kind. America is now a clown country. It's just embarrassing. Like, we have so much more money than Russia, but they bought us. How? Maybe we should have been more hawkish.